How's it going, guys? John, the basic expert here, and I got my green screen up. You probably saw me using it on the stream this last week, but two videos this week. I was gonna wait for this video to come out, but I think I'm gonna just make it and put it out as soon as possible. And it's something that I'm not very good at, which is talking about my own stuff. And but I should talk about it anyways. People are asking me to talk about it, so let's talk about Atomic Punk 2160. So this is post-apocalyptic Atomic Punk OSR role-playing, and it is OSR rules designed to allow you to play like a Fallout-style game, like post-apocalyptic exploration dungeon crawl, although I call them bunker crawls, in a post-apocalyptic setting. That is very much like Fallout. It is very influenced by Fallout. I add my own little things to it here that you can choose to ignore that do not exist in Fallout games. Like if you're looking to run a straight up Fallout game, you can ignore some of those things. But I do add some things to kind of make the setting feel like my own a little bit. But I do draw a lot of influence from the classic Fallout games, both Fallout 1 and 2 and the Bethesda Fallout games as well. It's kind of a mishmash of all those kinds of tropes and ideas mixed together into one. So I did all the art, illustrations, layout, words. Obviously, I wrote everything. All of this is done by me. Look, I even have a physical copy right here. As you can see, you can probably see it here. So there will be physical copies available. I'm waiting for the drive-through-RPG proof to come in. And GM Stillhaven, if you're out there, please respond back to me. I want to make sure I'm sending a copy of this book to the right address. You want a copy, and I want to make sure it's going to the right place before I order it for you. Anyways, a couple things about it though I should preface in saying is that this is going to be very indie in design. Like I did the best I could to organize it and lay out everything as best as I could, but I don't have an editor, and I did everything myself. Everything I do is a one-man army thing, and I know that kind of irks some people, but I don't let that stop me from making stuff that I think is cool and sharing it with people. And I try not to price my stuff super expensive, and I mean, I was reading West End Games Star Wars D6, and it has typos and things in it, and reading First Edition has issues, and these games are well beloved. So I feel like this idea of this sort of guerrilla warfare game designer thing is at the heart of the hobby. And while highly polished work is often great and fantastic, and I want to work with an editor in the future, I got to kind of build up to that point because I'm currently not capable of doing all that myself. So that said, if you do pick up this game, I will tell you straight up, there's probably typos in it. There's probably mistakes. There's probably organizational issues that you're not going to like. I did the best I could. So please be, I guess, forgiving or whatever it is you think you can be to me in regards to like one guy doing everything himself. So I wanted to kind of scroll through the PDF, show you guys everything. It's 89 pages, so I don't know if we'll get to all of it. It's like 89 pages of rules and everything. So it is hyperlinked, so like you can click on stuff. I was able to figure that out. We were not able to do that before in like Cowpunchers and stuff, although future revisions of Cowpunchers will have that I'm working on. But I invested in Affinity, which is a fantastic program for making PDFs and stuff like that, especially for print for Lulu and drive-through-RPG. If you plan on doing that yourself, I highly suggest you invest in Affinity over InDesign. I think it's a better program in and of itself, only because you're not renting software. But special thank you to my Subscribestar supporters. And so we got a table of contents. You can see kind of everything that you got going on here. You got character creation. I do have a skill system in here because Fallout is a skill-based game. The special system is skill-based, so it's very like percentile-based. So I had to kind of shoehorn that into it, but it works. I think it works. You have equipment, adventuring rules, combat rules. I have vehicle rules, and I have a few monsters and some loot tables. So it's not a complete rule set. You're gonna need. It should be roughly compatible whether you're playing. You want to use basic fantasy as a base work for all the other rules that I don't cover because I'm not gonna cover every single situation. but it has, you could use OSC, you could use basic fantasy, you could use any game out there that you want. Lion and Dragon by RPG Pundit if you want, for how you want to resolve a lot of situations. But I do provide a lot of the basic general OSR rules in here as well. Got an introduction. Again, I did all the art myself, which was a lot of fun. So 3d6 down the line, you got your modifiers, prime attribute / wisdom bonus for XP. Leveling up, we use a cap system because it is a Fallout style game, so bottle caps. And I have it broken up into different kinds, which we'll get into later. There's Curie Cola caps, which is equivalent to 1 experience point, which I kind of use a silver money system, silver economic system, where players are spending what this setting's equivalency of silver would be rather than gold. So gold is like the caps that would be in the place of gold are like the more expensive ones. I don't have races. They are just backgrounds because everything is sort of based off of human. So everyone is human. You might be a mutant, but at your core, you're still human genetically. You know, you might be genetically mutated human, but you are still human nonetheless. So you have human, you have a mutant, and I have these fun mutant tables that you can roll a d12 on, and you get a random mutation. And it creates variability because in order to become a mutant, you have to have strength, dexterity, or constitution of 15 or more. So if one of those is 15 or more, you can become a mutant, and then you'd roll. If 2 of these are 15 or more, then you can become a mutant, and you can roll twice on the mutation table, or you will roll twice on the mutation table. And if you have all 3, you have at 15 or more, which is like pretty hard to do rolling 3d6. You can roll 3 times on here. And so that means you could be a pretty jacked up mutated individual if you wanted to be. One of them is a conjoined twin where you'll have to roleplay 2 characters. So that's always fun. We have revenants, which is like ghouls, robots, which are a little overpowered, but I try during playtesting, it's kind of worked out well. So you start out with d8s, like you're using d8s as hit dice, and you start out, or d6s, I believe. Oh no, d8. So you start with 6 hit dice, d8s. That's right. I kind of flop back and forth, but I elected on the d8 because it has a bigger bell curve, more spread than d6s would. You have to have 2 physical attributes of 13 or more, and an intelligence of 13 or more in order to be even be able to choose a robot. You are level capped at 6. You do have 6 hit dice of d8s, but you do not heal over time. You are not like a human character where you can just recover slowly over time. You don't heal. You're a robot. Those robots don't heal. So you have to pay caps, which is very expensive, in order to repair yourself. And in our playtesting, Matt, one of the players, is playing a robot, and he's having fun with it. And so he starts out in the dungeon, you know, and he's taking hits, and he's being the damage soak for the party. But after a while, it's like, ooh, I've lost half my hit points soaking up all this damage for the party, and it's really expensive to heal myself. So the adventuring party, is going to have to invest in keeping their robot repaired and well maintained if they wish to keep that tank type character at the front of the line when they're adventuring in dungeons. So I think it balances out kind of well, and they're also level capped at level 6. So there's that. And then you can be a bunker dweller, which is kind of like a vault dweller. It's a 15% chance of that. You have a higher saving throw, which is harder, makes things harder for you, but you also get more skills. We also have classes, and each class is kind of roughly based on the classic OSR classes, but there's specializations within them. So the bastard is kind of like the thief, and you can become a sniper or a knave, and you can see that you get special abilities. You get a special ability for just being a bastard, and then you get a special ability for being a sniper or for being a knave. And a knave is more like a traditional thief altogether, together as one. So then you have your advancements. Caravaneer, you can be a smuggler or a merchant, and you can see the skills that you get. Some of them you get to choose like one. Some skills it's just take all of these skills as bonuses to d20 rolls. You have a merchant, smuggler or merchant. You have a doctor, so you can be a disease specialist. So you're going to be better at like healing players and dealing with radiation and diseases that players can get. out in the wasteland, or you can be a field medic, which might be good as someone who is out on the field helping your fellow party members not die. You have a gunslinger, and as you'll notice, each has a requirement and a prime attribute that you have to have. You have a gunslinger, which is kind of, you have a d6 for your hit dice, but you're a little more like fightery in a way. And you can be a hitman or a bounty hunter, and they get to dual wield guns. And so the way I did this was, your main hand weapon is fine. Your offhand weapon is -4 for any other character. Any character can dual wield pistols, but you're gonna have a -4 to the attack roll with your offhand weapon. The gunslinger only has a -2 to his offhand weapon, so he's a little more effective at dual wielding weapons. And if you're able to get enough bonuses, so your small arm skill is what's used to fire like handguns and rifles and things like that, you're you're able to add that bonus. So he has +2 small firearms. That essentially cancels out the -2 there, right? So, and if you keep dumping points into that, eventually you're going to be getting bonuses to hit on your offhand weapon, so it'd be more effective in using your offhand weapon. You can be a survivalist, like a prepper, and you have the hunter and the prepper. We have your advancement table for that, and then we have the wasteland warrior, who can be a mercenary or a raider background. So this is more like your traditional, just like brute strength fighter type character that you can be as well. So there is a skill system, and I do use a difficulty check number, much like 5th edition and what Lion and Dragon in a lot of RPG pundits games use. I think it's cool. We get explanations of all the skills, and I kind of leave skills up to the game master, to the referee, as to what they want to do. So, you know, a character can, if they're doing a test to using athletics to jump something, I don't mind allowing players adding their athletic bonus check to the d20 roll along with their strength or dexterity modifier if it is applicable to the situation at hand. And also applying skills to saves or ability score modifiers to save. I use a single saving throw system for this as well. We have equipment. I have rules for armor, and armor is an interesting thing to talk about. So I have armor breakage dice. So the way this works is when a player, let's say a player gets hit, and if the attack beats my armor score by 4 or more, then I will have to roll to see if my armor breaks. So generally, right at that point, I would roll. And so armor will always break for light armor on 1 on a d6. So I would roll to see, does my armor break? Roll a d6. I rolled a 2. Okay, it didn't break, but my armor is damaged. So now it is going to break on a 1 to 2. If my AC gets beaten by 4 again, it's going to break on 1 to 2. And so then I'd have to roll a d6 again. And if I roll a 2, a 1, or a 2 again, my armor's broken and it will only have half of the AC value. So instead of like a +2 to my AC, it's going to have only a +1 when it's broken. And I'll have to spend money in caps and materials repairing my armor if I want to get it back up to the +2. And so you can see the more effective the armor is, the larger the breakage die is, which means it's less likely to break. But we'll get to it maybe later. The bigger, the more effective the armor is, the more penalties you have to movement and being encumbered and all that kind of stuff. So weapons, I just give generic basic weapons. I have rules for how expensive ammunition is per 20 rounds. And then we just have melee weapons, just some really basic melee weapons, because like a Fallout style game doesn't really need a whole lot of different melee weapons. What you really need is a lot of guns. And guns are where I add some extra rules that are not really prevalent in a lot of OSR games. So you have firearms have these traits. All kinds of different weapons have different traits attached to them. So they have penetration, meaning there's a chance that your attack can go through and hit another target beyond the current target. You can cause bleed out effects, which can stack. For instance, with the knave character, the bastard knave is able to do a bleed out skill, which means the target that is attacked is going to lose a certain amount of hit points every turn. So the weapons have that as well. You can do burst fire, and we have full auto rules here as well. And then we have the statistics for the various weapons, the damages they do, magazine capacity, weight, cost, all the sorts of things. CC is Curie Cola caps. Curie is like a term for like radiation, nuclear stuff. I just thought it was fun to have those little in jokes here. We have rules for laser weapons, and so lasers have the following things: are long range, so they only have a short and a long range. There's no there's no medium range, right? So it's just they're a little more effective at long range. Your position is lost though if you fire a laser weapon, because obviously if you shoot a laser weapon, there's a beam of light, of hot light that is flying through the air. People might be able to trace it back to your location if you're firing from concealment. You have burst fire like traditional firearms, and you have fully automatic fire as well. And then we have plasma weapons. You have anti-armor. It only needs to be armored by AC by 2 or more, so it's very deadly towards armor. And does a little bit more damage, has burst fire, but it only has those 2 things. So destroys armor more easily and burst fire. And we have some rules for demolitions. I have grenades, grenade launchers. These are just like special kinds of weapons that don't fit any particular category other than like very destructive things. We have the beefy boy, which is like the fat boy, I think, whatever the mini nuke launcher is in Fallout. And you have weapons modifications that can allow you to, like a red dot sight for you can put it on your plasma rifle or your traditional firearm and increase your modifiers and make you more effective in combat as well. Basic adventuring gear, special consumables. We have anti-rad medicine, medistims, which are like healing potions essentially, water filters. There's narcotics, and I do have rules. Drugs are a part of Fallout, and so I wanted to have narcotic rules, and addiction to substances are also a part of Fallout. Although I make my addiction rules a little more dangerous for players. Like there are benefits to taking drugs, but you can overdose. You can become a druggie and get addicted and then overdose. So I think it's best just to read the rules. Narcotics are a commodity, problem, vice, pastime, and tool in the wasteland. Below are the drugs that can be found in the wasteland, along with the effects of the drug. All narcotics have a chance of causing addiction. When a character takes a drug, he must make a saving throw. Success means that he has succeeded at avoiding addiction to the narcotic. Failure means the character has become addicted to the substance. This saving throw must be made every time the narcotic is taken. There are different levels of addiction as well, described below. If a character is already addicted and fails to save, he moves up a level of addiction. At the highest level of addiction, the character dies if he fails his saving throw due to an overdose. And so then you have different levels of addiction. The character must consume the drug once a week. The character does not partake of the narcotic again. He has a -2 penalty to all rolls, and his movement is reduced by 1/4, rounded down, for 3 days. After the 3 days, he will recover and no longer be addicted. So you go through withdrawals, and each one has something like that until you get to level 4, whereas like there's no higher place you can go. Obviously, the character must consume the drug every hour, or he suffers a -4 penalty to all rolls, and his speed is reduced by half for 3 weeks, or until he partakes of the narcotic again. So it gets really brutal as you become a druggie. Like a real druggie, the drug becomes your life, which was what I was trying to reflect in the rules. But some of the drugs provide really useful benefits. So, we got Berserker Met Amp Nuno, which is a nootropic drug, Op A, Swole Up. I tried to give them just silly names like in Fallout. We got rules for adventuring, basic encumbrance rules, doors, wasteland, wilderness movement, how far you can travel in a day, and how different environments sort of affect travel. Then wasteland hazards. So getting lost is a possibility in the wasteland. Radiation. And I have rules for radiations. Essentially, everything's based around saving throws. If you go into mild radiation, you take 1d4 radiation points. There's no saving throw penalty, and generally it's like touch. Like you drink the water or you touch something that is radioactive, it might have mild radiation on it. Do the saving throw. Success, you're okay. Failure, you take on some radiation points. What's interesting is if the radiation points equal more than half of a character's constitution score, The character is sick with radiation sickness. When a character is sick with radiation sickness, he suffers a -4 penalty to all d20 rolls. Movement speeds are halved as well. After performing any strenuous activity, such as running, combat, jumping, swimming, etc., the character must make a saving throw against radiation. Failure means the character loses 2 hit points and 1 point of constitution. Getting to 0 constitution points means the character dies. To top off the death spiral radiation sickness, a character cannot regain hit points through natural healing process unless the radiation points are reduced to less than half of his constitution score. Anti-rad medicine will obviously reduce a character's radiation points. Seeking medical help from a doctor who has the proper equipment will also remove radiation points as well. So I try and add that system in because obviously gaining radiation was a big part of atomic style post-apocalyptic games and Fallout games in general. Rules for water and food and starvation, followers, pretty generic OSR rules for that, but I felt like I needed to include them. And then experience points. I don't provide an exhaustive list of creatures in this, but since the game is roughly cross-compatible with most OSR games, you should be able to take any monster from your favorite OSR game, whether it's OSE, Osric, ADD1E, the Fiend Folio, anything like that, and you should be able to apply it. And you can use these charts based on, which are taken from Basic Fantasy, very useful with their SRD, to convert them to XP for this game. Combat encounters, you got reaction rolls, typical stuff, surprise, which can be done on a d20 with your perception skill, or you can do it the classic way if you want to with d6s for surprise. Initiative, just pick the initiative system that you want. Whether it's side initiative or individual initiative, choose what you want. We got combat actions, rules for all that kind of stuff. Nothing too different, just changing weapons is probably really the only real big thing that's a big difference here. And let's see here. We got, if you are using a descending armor class, I got attack matrices here for the various classes, and so you'll have to reference this. If you're using ascending AC, obviously this is not something you need to worry about. So, rules for multiple shots, critical success. So critical success, I wanted to make something like VATS, right? So something like where you target a body part and there was like a percentage for it and whatnot. So if you have a critical hit, when a monster, character, or creature rolls a natural 20 while attacking, this is considered a critical hit. Critical hits always hit. Damage is doubled when a critical hit occurs, meaning the damage rolled is multiplied by 2. In the event of a critical hit, the attacker gets to choose a body part that was struck. If the body part is hit, refer to the explanation of that body part and the effect that can occur. This is a percentage roll under dice throw. Extraneous part is for weird monsters that maybe don't have arms or legs. It can signify a weak spot on a creature that doesn't translate to anatomy consisting of arms, legs, torsos, thoraxes, and heads. Typical things that we would associate with like some vaguely humanoid forms. A character adds his dexterity modifier to the percentage chance where every +1 is equal to 5%. So a dex score of +1 means that the percentage chance of success is increased by 5%. So if a character is aiming for the head, he has a that's a typo there. I got to fix that. 15% chance of hitting the head rather than 10. I think I changed it to 5 because I wanted to make it a little harder. So that's something I'll fix. If a character has a -1 modifier, the dexterity, looks like I just forgot to change that one part. This is the part of the thing of like me just being a single guy trying to do this. So again, be forgiving of that kind of stuff. But essentially your dexterity modifier, each +1 acts as a 5% increased chance of hitting one of these body parts. So obviously, if you have a better chance of hitting a torso and causing extra critical damage. So if you hit the head, the target is given a saving throw against death. Failure means the target is instantly killed, reduced to 0 hit points. Torso, roll for half damage as additional damage on top of the double damage from the critical hit. So you're just going to deal extra damage. The target is given a saving throw in response. Failure means the target will bleed out 1d4 hit points for 1d4 rounds. Arms, the target receives a -4 penalty to all attacks involving limbs. This effect cannot stack. So you can't just like, if it happens, you can't just keep targeting the arms and like giving them a -8. Like the arms are already damaged. The -4 penalty is already there. Leg and an extraneous part gives the GM discretion. Critical hits against vehicles, we got that. We'll get to vehicles in a bit. And then there's critical failures. I have to give a little fumble table, D12, of like what could happen with rolling a 1. Don't have to use it, but you know, it's there if you want to use it. You can make your own critical fumble tables if you want as well. Rules for aiming, dual wielding, cover, concealment, firing into melee, going prone, wrestling and grappling, attacking from behind, subduing damage, grenade attacks, like where do they land, saving throws. So every creature, every player has a single saving throw number. I like that system. I think it's a little smoother. As much as I love the classic saving throws of death ray and poison and paralysis and spells and magic items, wands and whatnot, I like the single one better, and just adding bonuses to various things that character or creature is good at. So healing and rest, recovering from constitution points and from 0 hit points. I do not do death at 0. You have a number of negative hit points equal to half your constitution score, and you bleed out every round that someone does not stabilize you, because I have first aid and medicine skills that can be applied. The thing that happens though is that when you are reduced to 0 hit points, you're unconscious. If someone revives you, you have to make a saving throw. If you fail the saving throw, you are permanently injured. You roll a d6, which corresponds to one of your random attributes. And if you, whatever d6, if you fail, I rolled the saving throw after I've been brought back to consciousness and I'm done bleeding out. I roll a d6 and I have to find out whether or not like I reduce an attribute or not. So you fail it, you roll a d6 until you roll a 1, and that's strength. You have to reduce strength by 1 point. And this happens every time you're reduced to 0. There are drugs and ways you can get those skills back up, but it's pretty rare. Generally, it's a permanent injury. Your character's got to deal with it. The wasteland is a harsh place. So no death at 0. That might annoy people, but I try and punish people for being careless, let's say, and being knocked down. We got vehicles. I provide some very simple, like, basic rules, so you can kind of just make your own vehicles if you want. These are just like generic things like small, medium, and large vehicle. Vehicles have AC. They have hardness, which kind of soaks damage, because you're going to be using maybe handheld weapons, firing at another vehicle. How much damage does that vehicle absorb before it hits occupants inside the vehicle? Vehicles have hit points. They have a max speed. They have a size, which will affect certain things. Maneuverability, fuel capacity, and mount points for weapons. And I have rules for like how vehicle combat is very similar to character combat. Initiative, I believe, is based on the driver. That's how I would do it. Then we get to our foes. You have the single saving throw based on the hit dice of the monster. So the more hit dice creature has, the better its saving throw is going to be. We also have an attack matrix for monsters and their hit dice. So the more hit dice it has, the bigger to hit bonus it has. The better the armor class it's going to be able to hit. We go through all the rules for that, and then I just go through various kinds of generic creatures that you'd find in the wasteland that kind of roughly correlate to sort of Fallout type things. Like I can't call them rad roaches, so let's call them giant atomic roaches. Fat flies, feral revenants, feral ghouls, grave fang, giant mantises, giant mole rats, mud pinchers, mutant man dogs, milk hides, which are like the two-headed cows, rattle yote, giant scorpions, giant mosquitoes, ultra mutants, super mutants, and wolves, giant wolves. This is like that mutated bear, and robots. We have rules for robots, different kinds of robot creatures that can be encountered, and just generic human enemies like raiders that you'll probably have your players fighting a lot of. And that gets us to loot. So I have various loot tables here. So you have sarsaparilla caps, curricola caps, and radcola caps. And this is the amount that is found. You have individual loot and unguarded loot based on like level of the abandoned ruin. We have tables for various consumables that are found, because some of these might be like various gear that's found. So uh, various kinds of gear that could be found, and weapons, special weapons. If you do get a weapon, what kind of weapon? What are the bonuses of the weapons? And special enemy and special abilities of those weapons, and armor. There's this bubbud feature here. So bubbud is a term for, like, in guns, in the gun community, the gun world, guys that kind of work on the guns themselves, and they bubbud it. They call it. They've jacked up their own weapon. They made it worse when they're trying to make it better. So you can kind of find armor that might be that, which is equivalent to like cursed armor and weapons in like your traditional fantasy game. So and then we got our character sheet here, as you can see, very simple. So that is Atomic Punk 2160. I hope that this seems interesting to you. It'll be releasing soon. I just gotta wait for the proof to get in from TTRPG, and that is already shipped. And then it's gonna take a few days for them. I have to tell them it's good, make it go live, and then it will go live, but it'll take like 2 or 3 days for them to approve it and go through it and make for the go live process to occur. And it is already ready to go in Lulu. It's already available as a PDF on my Subscribestar and on my Gilded server for people that support me on there monetarily at the $5 and up tier. It is so it's already available there. If you want the PDF, it's already available in that form. It's ready to go on Lulu. We'll be putting it on Big Geek Emporium. It will be available on itch. I'm just waiting for, I want it to all go out at the same time on all these different platforms, and I'm just waiting for DriveThruRPG to get done. There's this like the slowest process of all the different platforms of getting your stuff up there and approved and ready to go. So it'll take some time, but the game will be out and ready soon. Again, there's mistakes. It's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm one guy who did all of this. Like, I've had to learn how to do layout, and I mean, I could do art, but layout, and wrote it all myself. So, I mean, a lot of work has gone into this, and we've been playtesting it and having a good time. So I know the game plays well and is fun. And I hope that it's fun for other people that might pick it up and want to do that. They don't want to play the Modifius 2D20 Fallout, official Fallout game, let's say, you know. And you can run like a Mad Max style game with this too, you know, just only use traditional firearms, use the vehicle rules, and, you know, don't have robots. You could have mutants, probably, no revenants, or just make them all human, you know. And you could run like a Mad Max style game with this too. It's very versatile. It's not just geared towards Fallout. You could do a lot of different things with this. But, yeah, we're having fun with it. The bunker crawls have been fun. You can read the play reports on my blog. I posted them in the posts here on the community section of my channel, so check that out if you're interested. But yeah, that's Atomic Punk 2160, and I should say the name. Why did I pick 2160? Because 2161 is when that's when the first Fallout game takes place. So I'm kind of a little nod to that. But 2160 kind of reminds me of Cyberpunk 2020 or something like that. So I was kind of trying to go for that even number 0 at the end, and 2161 probably would have been just as good, but I went with 2160 just to differentiate it a little bit more, you know, make it somewhat slightly my own thing, but not really. But yeah, it should be ready soon, and I hope people enjoy it and like it, and are forgiving of any mistakes that I've made in it. It's not that I'm trying to make bad content, if that's the case, but or bad games, but you know, it happens when you're just one guy trying to do it all yourself. Don't know if I recommend it for others. You got to be special kind of crazy, I think, but it is what it is. So that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you like it. If you like what I do, consider supporting the channel. You can do so on Subscribestar or on my Gilded server. The Gilded server is also hopping. It's a great place. Lots of good discussions going on there. People running games, sharing the stuff they're working on. So make sure to check that out. check out the streams every Monday at 8:15 Mountain Time. I'm in Idaho, so Mountain Time. And every Monday, we talk about a certain subject. Sometimes we interview guests. People seem to really like the interview we did with Griff Morgan, Secrets of Blackmore, and Lost Dungeon of Tonnisburg. So make sure you check out those live streams. Watch the past ones. They're always a good time. And until the next video, guys, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.